Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. As you can see, we're outside. The weather in Manchester is absolutely beautiful, so why not? Let's just do it outside, feel nice and comfortable. Get involved in today's chat because there's plenty to discuss, really, isn't there? So Jim Ratcliffe's interview with Bloomberg, he talked about Manchester United, the Premier League, UEFA, so there's loads to discuss, so we want to hear your comments, so get involved. What was your first impressions, though, watching and listening to Ratcliffe's interview?
I thought it was an absolutely fascinating interview given by Bloomberg. It's a business interview. I thought Sir Jim Ratcliffe there excelled, felt so comfortable. He excels in them situations. And the thing is, he knew he wasn't going to get any pushback from the business side of it. I think that's where we're going to see more and more of Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming out. But what an insightful interview he gave about the future and about what's going on at Manchester United and how he sees where Manchester United are going to go.
Got quite a few snippets to reel off here. I will put a link in the description as well to the actual interview on YouTube if you want to take a further look and have a listen yourselves. But yeah, let's start off with Manchester United. And he said there's room for improvement everywhere. We look at Manchester United, we will improve everything. We want to be where Real Madrid is today, but it will take time.
When you listen to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you have to understand this is about business. So when he talks about competing with Real Madrid, what he really means, in my opinion, is keeping on their coattails. And he wants to go where Real Madrid go in the future. That's how I see what he's talking about. And we all know where Real Madrid want to go. They want to go into a Super League. Okay, they want to go and play a league game somewhere in Saudi Arabia or something like that. That's what they're exploring, Real Madrid. He sees that's where Manchester United should be going, on their coattails. He's a free marketeer. He's against regulations and rules, and he knows Real Madrid don't care about regulations and rules, and he's going to follow them. That's where he sees taking Manchester United from a business point of view, following wherever Real Madrid go.
Yeah, definitely. If you do listen to him in any of his interviews, whether it's to do with football, politics, he's a man that comes across that doesn't like the red tape and he doesn't like sticking to certain rules and regulations, and he's always trying to push back on certain things. But, you know, that's just his opinion as well.
It's not just his opinion. I don't think that's because I'm going to give my opinion on the regulations. He is slamming the government for putting a regulator into football. He doesn't want them restrictions. He thinks they're unfair. He thinks Manchester City won't be the first, and there'll be many, many more clubs what will be taking the Premier League on. He says it's divisive. He's a free marketeer. He wants to cut the rules out. Now, he's a Manchester United supporter all his life. He's talking business here, okay? So his football head is not on. It's a business head. He wants to get rid. He doesn't want a regulator. Now, we all know Gary Neville, for instance. He wants a regulator and many other people. So he's going to be at odds with many football people. But this is business. He wants to cut through. He doesn't want regulation. And he wants to take United in a different route. He talked, remember when he came in, he talks about loving the club. It's not about money. It's not about this. Well, he's talking now about business and where he sees Manchester United going. And a lot of fans are going to be upset about it. But from a point of view of the interview, I thought he was excellent, giving clear, precise, and also you have to read into what he's saying. And that's what I think I've done correctly.
Yeah, he did also say in that snippet I put up about it taking 2 or 3 seasons to really get on the same sort of level as Real Madrid, where we're actually competing against the likes of them teams.
Yeah, well, he spoke about 3 seasons while we're competing. Well, he's got to fight the regulations, and the regulations have just come back to bite him. With trying to get a player from Nice into Manchester United. But he talks about fighting. There's not much he's going to talk about, and he didn't really talk about what is happening right now at Manchester United. The competition to get up there, he says 3 years, and he believes from a business point of view, that's where it's going to be in 3 years' time, and he hopes that the football drags along with it, because Manchester United, biggest name in the world, according to Sir Jim Ratcliffe and many of us, okay, they have to be there. And like I say, I go back to Real Madrid. He knows that Real Madrid will be pushing further and further for bigger things where the money is, and he is not going to be lagging behind.
Yeah, let's get on to Erik ten Hag and what he mentioned there. And he said that the coach isn't the actual central issue at Manchester United. And what was your thoughts on that?
Well, he had no pushback on it. It's not what we want to hear. We want to hear an explanation about why he's saying that, and he's not going to give that. So it's very frustrating for fans just to hear that. The problem goes deeper, he says, but there's no details or anything like that, and that's where he's been clever. Okay, and why he's comfortable, because he's not getting a pushback. We're not getting the answers when something like that comes back. The interviewer wasn't there to do that, and he keeps giving interviews on Bloomberg on the business side of it, and that's his escape route from what we would ask, what the press would ask, the football people. So he's been very, very clever. But it is a clear insight onto what he sees. And he knows, as well as the fans know, that the problem is far deeper. But it leaves that question for us all. Then if you don't think Erik ten Hag is the central problem, then why did you go and look at other managers? So we're not going to get that answered by him in this interview. And I don't think we're going to get it in the future, because he is a clever businessman and he is avoiding what really should be the questions what we want asking. But he's not going to do that.
Yeah, with all that noise around Todibo from Nice, he was actually asked about Nice and whether he's prepared to sell Nice in the future. But he did push back on that, because he does like this sort of like multi-club model in terms of ownership.
I was surprised he pushed back on that because Todibo is not coming to Manchester United because they're in the same competition. And his excuse, he didn't sort of see it coming. He didn't see it coming. And the reason he gave was because Nice were in the Champions League at the time, and United were nowhere near competing in that, so he didn't see a problem going forward. So for me, I think that's bad that he didn't foresee it, and I don't understand the answer to the question, really, what he gave. It's puzzling, and that little bit of lack of awareness is something I've seen once or twice now in the 6-7 months he's been here. Puzzling.
It is one of the things that you've discussed many times on the channel, and a lot of people out there, even before he took over as a co-owner, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that you wanted him to sell up at Nice just to concentrate on Manchester United because of the task in hand. It's a huge one.
Yeah, it's a huge one. That's what I want him to get rid of Nice. I think it will be a hindrance, and it's just been proven in that case, because Todibo, he wants to come to Manchester United, and any other future players what are there will maybe want to come to Manchester United. And if they're in the same competition, then it's chaos. But I look at what he said about Nice. He sees Nice basically as a feeder club. And he's said that Manchester United, it's difficult to bring youngsters through into the first team and get them going there, and they get the proper football. And he sees that 15-year-old kids can be introduced into Nice, right? Get the game time, get the experience in that, and then come over to Manchester United. Well, if I was a Nice fan, I'd be screaming blue murder. Because at the end of the day, at one point they were challenging to be in the Champions League, okay? And that's where, as a fan, you want to be, okay? So to look down in the future and say to yourself, any aspiring good youngsters aren't going to come through, they're going to be taken away from us. What is the point? You want youth, you want to develop your own youth and bring them into your team and make your team better. Well, he's just told Nice fans, I'm taking that away from you because I see this club as a feeder club. So in other words, he won't want them to compete in the Champions League, because that's where Manchester United, he wants them to compete in.
All he'll be wanting to do is do best by Manchester United and the younger players coming through.
He wants the younger players to come through. He doesn't want Nice in the Champions League.
Which for us is a good thing. You know, as Manchester United fans, you'd rather see some of the younger lads get some of that experience, you know, in Europe as well, and in another country, then come back, you know, more educated kind of thing.
I agree with you, but, you know, from a footballing point of view, okay, from the perspective in France, what are Nice going to be? They're not going to be anything. He doesn't want them to compete in the Champions League. So from a football side, from a fan side, that is bad. But I prefer him to get rid of it. But he doesn't see that. He sees prolonging it and just keep hiding Nice away, and he doesn't want Nice in the Champions League. So unfortunately, the football side of it, he sort of opened himself up to some right criticism, and I think he deserves the criticism. There is no need for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, if he doesn't want to compete for Nice into the Champions League. What is the point?
Yeah, and if you just want him as like a feeder club for Manchester United, what is then the point of being associated with Nice? It's a question to obviously ask him, and hopefully someone asks him out there.
Yeah, well, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to put himself in that position. So he cleverly brought it out on the business interview today, where the interviewer, like I said, didn't push back at him. But from a fan's point of view, you have to look at Nice, what he's going to do with him. He just wants him as a feeder club, keep him mid-table or something like that, where they're no threat to Manchester United. Well, how poor does that make the French league? So at the end of the day, questions he needs put into him on that subject.
Yeah, he did obviously talk about recruitment as well at Manchester United, and he says, I don't think the solution is to buy a person like Mbappe. One player won't solve Man United's problems.
No, he's clearly not going to buy any superstars. I think he's mentioned it before. He doesn't want superstars. You know, you look at him going for Branthwaite. There's other players there. What he's looking at, he wants young players. He wants to develop them, and he's talking about developing players at Nice. That's the route he's going down. But he also avoids him paying loads of money for the stars out there. What you need sometimes. I mean, if you go back, we needed Van Persie. We had to go out and get him. Right, we needed that striker, so went out and got him. I don't think he's going to go down that route. I think he's just going to keep plodding along, try to bring players through, young players, buy them on the cheap and all that, and then go through that way. But I think he might be on a rocky road there, and a lot of people out there, I think, will agree on that.
He did say about building a balanced squad, and I think that's what his ideas and his intentions were, to go for the youth, bring them through, but then give them a bit of an education over at Nice as, like, let's say, a feeder club. But obviously that's put a spanner in the works as well with UEFA.
It's all right him talking about a balanced squad, but we've seen all these billionaire owners, whether the state-owned billionaires or whether the billionaires from America and that, they still go for that star. They can't resist it. So it's okay in being comfortable, sat there, being nice, chatting away and going, well, this is the way it's going. They can't resist it. Okay, they look at it sometimes, got to buy this big star. It'll do wonders for the club's bank balance and all that. So they can't resist it. Okay, so it's okay him saying that, but I think he'll slip up on that.
Yeah, going back to earlier on in the video when we was talking about him not liking really red tape and regulations, and he was talking about the Premier League, and he said, we've got more accountants than we've got sporting people at Manchester United. If you're not careful, the Premier League will end up spending more time in court than it is thinking about what's good for the league.
Well, this is the rules and regulations he's not happy with. He does not want it. He understands how good the Premier League is, how it goes around the world and all that, but it's the regulations. He sees them hampering going forward from a business point of view. And as I say, he wants to stay on the coattails of Real Madrid, but he also sees Manchester City, other teams coming foul against the Premier League, and he doesn't want to see teams taking the Premier League and taking their time up and costing them millions of pounds in lawyers' fees and everything. He just wants to scrap it, and I think he's in for a bit of a big fight. But I believe he's already talking to other clubs about a strategy going forward, how to go at the Premier League and force them to change. That's what I believe. That's what businessmen do. They look after each other and try and ride roughshod over regulations and all that, and they get themselves in a group and then fight the battle together. And I think at the moment what we've seen is just individual clubs taking on the Premier League, and it's a big fight for them. But I think once they all get together, and I think they're doing that now, to be honest with you, we're just waiting for that City one, what's just being dealt with now, see what happens there, and then they'll get together, all these owners, and then they'll take on the Premier League.
He did talk obviously about the budget, recruitment this summer at Manchester United, and he said Man United doesn't have any players that are valued at €100 million or more, adding that one superstar isn't going to solve the problems at Manchester United. I'm not that confident we'll solve all the problems in the first transfer window. Now he's talking about we don't have that superstar that they could possibly sell for €100 million. Is that because of all the business dealings in the past where we've let players walk out on a free? You've got players still in the squad. Like Sancho, spent a lot of money on him. You've got Mason Greenwood there. He's an £100 million player in my eyes, but we're not going to get that type of money for him either.
No, I just think it reflects the squad we've got.
Yeah.
If you look where we finished, 8th, and quite rightly we finished 8th, there's no superstars in there. There's potential, but there's no players in that squad at the moment, I see, what are valued at €100 million or £100 million. The squad is what it is, and it's being developed. There's no outstanding player there, and it's unusual for Manchester United not to have 1, 2, maybe possibly 3 star names in the squad. There's good players there, we know that. Some of them have got to develop, but I think he's quite right on that, and he's going to have to do some work to get these valuations, because he will be selling players, and he wants to bring in that money from players what have been developed, and he's going out there and he wants to buy young players cheap, sell them at a high cost, and he wants that £100 million.
Yeah, a few people in the chat I've seen throughout the video mentioning or not liking the fact that he's sort of comparing Manchester United to Real Madrid and where he wants to be. But what's your thoughts on that? Because let's face it, Real Madrid are the top club in Europe in my eyes right now, won the Champions League as well.
What he's talking about, and you have to sort of go and watch him, right, and hopefully understand, right, that what he's talking about is business when he talks about Real Madrid. He's not talking about football. He wants to be where Real Madrid are going, okay? And they're going places, and they're going where the money is, okay? Saudi Arabia is opening up. The Super League options there. That's what will be pushed, okay?
I know you're thinking of it like that from your own interpretation, but it could be the total opposite. And just looking at the success that Real Madrid have had in recent years with the Champions League, league medals as well. You look at the new stadium that they've got, the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Wow, what a stadium that is. We also know as Manchester United fans, he's looking at exploring something like that. So is that not what he's really saying if you think about it?
Yeah, listen, he is talking about that as well. I'm just pointing out where he also wants to go as a businessman. Yes, he wants the stadium either redeveloped or a new stadium. He wants everything what Real Madrid's got, and he wants to be better than them on the pitch. He wants the Champions League. He wants us to be competing on the same level as Real Madrid, and he did say when he come in 3 years. So he's talking about 2 things, but I'm just trying to sort of put you on the thing. He's also talking about business as well, because it is a business interview.
Yeah, Darren Cox says wages at United don't actually reflect their value on the pitch, which is why there are no big sales, and I totally agree with that, my mate.
It's a long, long time since the wages of some of these players haven't reflected what's on the pitch. It's been poor return for the value what these players supposedly getting. It's been very poor. But then he's identified it, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He knows, for instance, like when he mentioned Erik ten Hag, the problems go far deeper and things will change. The story, the words, penny pinching, looking after the pennies, it makes pounds. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do that as well. And he's talked about too many accountants at United. He is going to cut down, and these players aren't going to be on these big money, what they've always been on, because they have not produced what Manchester United, the club, the fans have expected. They've had just a walk through life, right, without any real pushback, been given absolutely ridiculous contracts, and he is not going to have that going forward.
Yeah. Sports Prediction says, I don't agree with Tony on the Nice thing. I think he'll do the multi-club thing in a balanced way because he don't want Nice fans upset.
He's got no option but to upset Nice fans, because he's saying Manchester United will be competing with Real Madrid. Well, if they're competing with Real Madrid, they're going to be in the Champions League. That means Nice can't be in the Champions League, okay? If there's players there what want to come over, he wants Nice to be run as a feeder club. The potential youngsters coming through aren't going to be staying at Nice, okay? So the best talent coming through won't be at Nice for the future. Well, what are they going to do, Nice? Keep buying big players?
The thing is,
it's the opposite to what he wants to do at Manchester United. It's not right. But hey, everyone's got an opinion.
The multi-club ownership as well, though, to me, you've got a case whereby they could start stockpiling players. Just like Chelsea used to do in the early 2000s, with their reserve squads and stuff like that. Some of the younger players, they were buying an absolute shed load, sending most of them over to Holland as well.
Yeah, well, he's going to stockpile players. He's going to
possibly do that under the multi-club.
He's going to get the best players from Nice, and if they fit what's going on at Manchester United, they're going to come to Manchester United. But the thing is, he doesn't want the problems of competing in the same league.
Problem, yeah.
And at the end of the day, I do see going down the line, and this is what Jim Ratcliffe is totally against because he wants a free market, is that UEFA might start tightening up the rules about feeder clubs for everybody.
Yeah, it says they are interviews on YouTube from Nice fans and see what they have to say about Jim. I've actually seen quite a few, to be honest, and kind of like split down the middle. Some for, some against. So
I think when he first came in, it was a bit chaotic for him, but he got there and it looked like Nice were going places and that. And then suddenly, I think things have changed in there with managers, with how it's working, and I think some fans at Nice have actually got on to what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's game is, and it's Manchester United. They've gone down. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has gone down in their estimations since he's took over Manchester United because they just see themselves being left behind and not the prime focus of Ineos. And I agree with that point.
Salford 6, I heard the three fans Nice have got don't like Sir Jim or Ineos.
I think they've got more than three fans. I think they've got a good support, Nice.
Yeah, they are.
Very good support.
Anything to add, though, before we go?
No, but, some people might not like the interpretation of give because it is a business interview, what he gave. But that's his favourite position to be in, talking about business. And I don't think we'll see many interviews, very rare, I think, where you'll get him interviewed by sports people. I just don't see that because he's so comfortable. But fascinating. So watch it if you've got time.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the video description if none of you have seen it out there, so you can take a look yourself as well and come back and let us know your own opinions on it. But thanks for joining us. We're going to get going now. Like I said, we thought I'd do it in the garden. Nice weather today here in Manchester, but I've got to be honest, it's absolutely killing me hay fever. So going to end it there. Smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Manchester United chat. So get your notification on, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.